Need the microphone. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Oh my goodness gracious. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you guys have had a good week. And before we jump into everything here, I just want to remind everybody, excuse me, very family friendly oriented channel here. Uh, it was with the right hand. Saluting is with the right hand, just saying it. Well, Angela, it was the right hand. When I do this, that is what I did. Okay. Oh my God, too fun. Did I do it right-handed? I did it right-handed. I know I did it right-handed. So, all right. Anyway, yeah, I've saluted enough times in my life to know exactly how to do it. Yeah, I know I did. It was like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, too funny. Literally, it's automatic, and I'm going to show you something. Okay, literally, just it's this. It's and what it is when you salute. It is to the corner of your eyebrow, right? So your salute to your corner of your eyebrow, or if you have glasses, it's to the corner of your glasses. So it's like it's an automatic thing. So, but yeah, that's how you're supposed to do it, and that's why it drives me nuts when I watch movies and they do it wrong in the movies. I know maybe they're supposed to do it wrong in the movies, but so oh, that's funny. Come on now, JJ. Let's not go getting into that kind of stuff. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines thing. Oh, our branch is better. Everybody knows that the Army is the best branch. I mean, come on, seriously. Hey, listen, I have some bad jokes. Some bad jokes. Um, for geared towards Navy guys. So it's I had a buddy of mine that was in the Navy. Okay, and first of all, let me just say, I have no zero animosity towards any other branch of the service. I don't. We all have to work together, and yeah, I'm sure your husband would disagree as a Marine. All right. And you know what? They're all awesome. Every branch is awesome. They all serve a very important function, and I think that we should be respecting everybody that because you got to remember since what 74, 75, it's been all volunteer army since then. No more draft. So, but yeah. Dad was Navy and traveled the world in a submarine. I had a buddy of mine that was a submariner. He was in the Navy, and they what they do is you get your dolphins, I guess, is what he called it, and so it's a pin that you get once you've done a certain thing. Okay, and what he told me was at the time, and could you imagine this? I got first of all, I got to tell you, imagine this happening now in our environment of today's society. Okay, so what he had to do is when he got his dolphins, you put it on your chest, right, with the pins not in it, and everybody that was a higher rank than you got to come up and hit it. So he said. Hey, Ed, your salute was perfect. One of the best I've seen in a long time. Well, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. Um, so everybody a higher rank got to hit it. And he said, some of the guys were cool. They would just come up and give it a tap. Well, by the time he got done, because everybody on the submarine was a higher rank, and obviously when you're first getting in there, you're not a really high rank. He said he had blood in two spots running down his chest because some people come up and they hammered him. You know, it's part of that initiation with the submariners that they did. So anybody here that did submarines and got your dolphins, can you verify that story for me? Because obviously, you know, um, I was not in the Navy. I was not a submariner, but my buddy was. So I got blood wings in the airborne. Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't an airborne unit, but I never jumped out of a plane. So until I got out of the service. Oh, I'm going to tell you what. Here's. I had a comment. So we're going to get into talking about the veterans here, guys, in just a second. But I got to tell you this. This is the best. All right. So obviously, Mark is building his building, which he plans on staying in when he's here with his family, down in the woods. Okay. And as a kind of like a spoof, if you will, because people are like, "Oh, did you get a permit to get that building made?" I mean, grow up, okay? Just grow up. Mind your own business and grow up, right? So I started calling it a deer blind, just more to mess with the trolls than anything else, because I could care less. People are gonna think what they're gonna think. I can call it whatever I want. Um, but anyway, with today there was a comment, and we've been calling it a deer blind. It's like the ongoing joke now, because anybody that has a half a brain in her head knows that it's you know with the walls being built. Well, Jen, you haven't watched the video today, and he prefabbed all the walls and the ceiling joists and stuff like that. That will all be going in, you know, going in tomorrow. But so anyway, so this person says in the comments, and I thought this was funny. She goes, "How come rice and beans aren't enough? Why do you have to kill the poor deer?" Right? And so somebody comes in behind her and makes a comment, and they said venison goes really well with beans and rice, which I thought was hilarious. Hilarious. So I just, you know, to me, I have a really twisted sense of humor. So to me, that's funny that she got like all offended, like she actually thought it was a deer blind that we're building down there. Very funny, just very funny. So, but anyway, so that's just yeah, just crazy stuff. All right, so I'm gonna tell you some stories tonight, from just my experiences of what I you know dealt with in some of the things that I saw and those type of things. So we're going to talk about some of those. I'm sure anybody that's been in the service has stories as well. And so, but anyway, so before we do get started, let me just do this. Family friendly oriented channel. So everybody, please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. Let's have a good chat. Let's enjoy each other's company tonight, and we'll have some good discussions. And we're going to talk about the veterans and the different things like that, and we'll go from there. Um, so when I was in basic training, and oh my God, I so this one I'll never forget. So we had one guy. So I was a 19-year-old kid. I mean, I'm just green as green can be, right? No life experience, no nothing. Um, and we had a guy in the next room over that was 34. Okay. So I think which was pretty much as old as, or 32 or 34. I can't remember exactly. Was one of those two. But he was like right at that doorstep where they won't let you in anymore because you're too old. But he was ex Air Force. So he had gone from the Air Force. Now he was going in the Army. So because if you've done basic within a certain amount of time, you don't have to do it again. But if it gets beyond that window, you have to do it over again. Okay, so he had to do basic training over again. So he was probably one of the oldest guys in the unit. A lot of the guys, I mean, most of the guys were 25 and younger. I mean, that's just that's how it is. I mean, a lot of guys coming right out of high school and going in the service and stuff like that. So you are wiped out. You're wiped out. I mean, just constantly tired, and you know you're not ever getting enough rest, and they're just wearing you out all the time. Well, we had what we called the smart book, and you had to memorize your smart book. So I'll give you an example of one of the things that I remember to this day. All right, the way you remember the ranks of generals was my little general. Major general, right, which is the M. My little is lieutenant general, which is a 2-star. My little, wait, hold on a second. Was it my little general? Because there was four. There's 3-star and there's 4-star. Oh, B my little. Okay, brigadier general, which is 1-star. Major general, yeah. B my God, I'm trying to remember now because it's been a few years, folks. Let me just hold on there with me a second. Um, Gosh, it was Brigadier, Major General, Lieutenant General, which is 3 star, and I don't remember. I'm sorry. Brigadier General, Major General, Lieutenant General. Yeah, be my little general. Right. So that's how you remembered them. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm right. I just my brain wasn't processing. So be my little general was how you remembered that ranking of those, and then you had your general orders. So you had like you were always memorizing your general orders. You know, because they would come up to you at any time and say, "Private, what is your fifth general order?" And you had to spew out what your fifth general order was. If you didn't know what your fifth general order was, they would dog you out. I mean, you were doing push-ups, cannon cockers, and what a cannon cocker was is you do a push-up, a sit-up, and then I think it was also a jumping jack, and then you had to jump up and go boom or something like that. So if they gave you 50 cannon cockers, so the first time you went down, you did one of everything. The second time you did two of everything. So every one, it was another one added on. So you didn't do 50, you did like ridiculous amounts. Okay. So anyway, getting back to my story, I'm getting off track here, but I wanted to try to explain this to you guys. So what happens is you're like I said again, you're tired constantly. I mean, just absolutely constantly. So I am sitting against my wall locker because you have a big wall locker where you have all your gear and stuff in there. And I'm sitting up against the wall locker and I'm reading my general, my smart book. Okay, it's called a smart book. I fell asleep. Okay. So, and the reason that I remembered this guy who was like 30 something years old, he was an a hole. Okay. So he sees me sleeping, right? Sees me sleeping. Now, decent dude would have went, "Hey man, wake up, you're gonna get in trouble," right? Oh no, no, no. He went and got the drill instructor. So I woke up to this, right? So I'm leaned up against my wall locker. I'd fallen asleep, garbage can lid from like holding it up here and dropping it on the floor. And I looked up, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. So boom, this loud crash, and I jerked up, and I look and I see the drill instructor standing there, and I went, "Oh shit." I will never forget that because what followed that was, "Well, you got so much sleep, Carswell. Are you ready? You're ready to exercise now." Wore me out, dogged me out. I mean, just it was brutal, brutal. I literally in my coccyx, which is that spot of just above your tailbone, I had worn out a spot on that because they dogged me out so bad. Yeah, yeah. So, but you know what? Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. So that's one of the stories that I'll relate to you. Um, yeah, it was pretty. It was a trip. It was a trip. So, but anyway, so that's just one of the stories, and but yeah, many moons ago, many moons ago. God, I look back at that and I just go, holy crap, that's almost 40 years. Long time. Anyway, so certain things you always remember though, and I'll tell you what. And then what I also remember in that situation with not only the drill instructor dropping that garbage can and waking me up, is that other dude standing behind there with like the biggest grin on his face, like "ha ha ha, I got you." And I had never done nothing to him, but he was just being a jerk off. So, but anyway, so I do want to talk about the veterans today, and a lot of people obviously we have a all volunteer army. Have had an all volunteer army for a long, long time. Vietnam was the last time we had to draft, and oh, gas chamber. Oh, okay. So I will tell you a gas chamber story too. I will tell you my gas chamber story as well. All right. So all right. So this is well, but let me just say this. So a lot of people have served. A lot of people have given everything, given their life. And so, uh, you know, this is a day that we really should remember those that gave everything. And you know, the folks, and I've talked about this before, and I've told you guys, I never saw combat. I would never ever say that I saw combat when I didn't. I can't stand people that do that. It just drives me crazy. Uh, but you know, there's a lot of people that have saw combat, and you know, not not a pleasant thing that they have to deal with. And you know, my hats off more to military veterans than anybody else, just because of what they've had, especially. And this is no slight against the Air Force. This is no slight against the Navy, but especially Marines and Army, because they're the ones, for the most part, that are knee deep in the crap. So you know, that's. But all the other ones are, you know, high stress, a lot of stuff going on all the time, and it's just not a great environment as far as dealing with that and doing what they had to do to survive. You know, it is not a good time. Okay, so I just wanted to just say that you know, all the combat veterans out there, people that have seen combat, you have my utmost respect. As a veteran, you have my utmost respect. Again, because I never did see combat. So I wanted to tell you guys a gas chamber story. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we all are issued our gas mask, and you had to carry it with you everywhere. Okay, you had to carry it with you everywhere. So I am I think the best way to describe me is I'm a smartass. I'm always going for the joke. I love to bust chops. I love to have a good time, you know, and it's just that's just who I am. And sometimes I can't keep this shut when I should keep it shut. It's just that, you know, I just it's just always the way I've been. So we're getting ready. This was the day we got to do the gas chamber, right? Got to do the gas chamber, and so we get there. And what they would do in the gas chamber, they would put you in 10 at a time. Okay. So you go in, you got your gas mask on when you walk into the gas chamber. So I'm gonna explain how they do it first, and I'll tell you the story. So you walk into the gas chamber, you have your gas mask on. You take your gas mask off. The more you delay, or if you try to hold your breath, the longer we stay in there. All right. So all right. So we get up there, and he's explaining. This drill instructor is explaining everything. And he's like, you know, this is what we're going to do, and we're proving to you that your gas masks are effective and that they work, right? So I couldn't help it, folks, because of who I am, and I put my hand up, and he goes, Carswell, because everything's in the military, you're by your last name. So he goes, Carswell. I said, Sergeant, I said, what if I said that I believed you, that the gas mask worked, and you know, and you don't really have to prove it to me. And so, oh, oh, is that how you want to go? Come up here, Carswell. You're going to be the first, one of the first 10. So what I was the 10th guy. Because when you go in to the gas chamber, they bring you in 10 at a time, right? And so I'm the 10th guy. So who's the last guy out of the gas chamber? Not the first guy, the last guy. So when you walk in the one door, and then what they do is they tell you when you go out the other door, don't rub your eyes and all that type of stuff. You put your hands out at your side, and you want to walk into the wind. You want to blow it so the wind blows the you know, it off of there. Okay. So uh get into the gas chamber, and I'm like, oh boy, here I did it again. So now I'm the last guy. So I'm going to be the last one out of there too. So they're like, okay, take off your gas mask. So, you know, I take off my gas mask, and you're holding it in your hand. And I started doing this because I'm like, I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath. So I start going like little breaths, thinking, okay, great, right? All of a sudden, that gas hits you. And literally, the snot just runs out of your nose. Your eyes are on fire. I mean, it is brutal. I mean, it's brutal. Okay. And so then they're like, okay, you know, turn to your right. So you turn to your right, and out the door you go, and you walk out into the wind, and it absolutely sucks. But here's the cool thing about being one of the first 10 guys in the gas chamber. Okay, when you are done and you've cleared up, you get to watch everybody else come out of the gas chamber. And I can honestly tell you, I have never laughed so hard in my life. I mean, in my life, I can't remember laughing that hard over anything else because you're watching these guys come out and it just like the snot is just running and they're like, ah! Like because it's brutal. Anybody that's ever had to deal with gas, um, yeah, tear gas. So, but it's just it's brutal. I mean, it absolutely sucks. It is not a good time, and but yeah, so it was. But getting to watch everybody else come out, that was the best. So, but you know what? You go through it, you deal with it. We didn't have to do. Gilbert is saying name, rank, and serial number. We didn't have to do that. Um, we didn't have to do anything like that. Not that I remember. But it was just. I had been pepper sprayed twice in the corpse, Billy, the kid Norwood said. Yeah, I never was pepper sprayed. Yeah, but you definitely don't touch your eyes because it will just irritate your eyes. So, but it is not fun. It is not fun. And I mean, when I say literally the snot is just running out of your nose. It's just but yeah, it's just supposedly there was a guy in with my friend who worked there that made that gas that it didn't phase him. I'm sure you with anything you build up a tolerance. I think you build up a tolerance for whatever. But yeah, it was an interesting day. I can honestly say that I'll never. So when you guys brought that up in the comments, I was like, oh my god, I got to tell that story. But yeah, it's just it's part of what you have to go through. So you know, but my parents got bombed by the Luftwaffe and hid in underground shelters in Edinburgh, Scotland. Well, they obviously made it through, so that's a good thing. We did name, rank, and serial number in '99. Well, they might have changed it. I don't remember. Like I said, we're talking about 38 years ago, folks. I mean, I have the memories. I don't remember exactly what we had to do in there, but I remember, that part of it. So, but Billy the Kid, Ed tells his gas chamber story every Veterans Day. Did I tell you the same thing last? Well, hey, we got new people in here. They haven't heard the story yet, Billy the Kid. So, that's. But yeah, it's just, it's. God, I look back at some of the stuff, and we did rank names in '88. Okay, yeah, I like I said, I was in '84, so right out of high school. Nope, no Kleenex when you came out. Nope, but a lot of good experiences. Made some good friendships when I was in there, and it was interesting times. Interesting times, but. I tried to join in '77, failed the physical. Oh, I'll tell you what happened to me, Okie Forge. So I, sign up. You go up to, they take you to Buffalo and they do like one final thing. So I'll tell you this story too. And I think I probably have told this one before too, but I will tell this again. Two parts of this story. So I'm up there for, well, actually three parts, because I'll tell you the other part that I remember too, what had happened. So you go up, you spend the night in Buffalo. The next day, you're getting ready to ship out. You're going to be going to wherever you're doing your basic training. So they got people flying out of Buffalo going, Navy guys, Army guys, Air Force, Marines, right? Everybody's flying out. And so you get there and they do another physical on you. And so one of the things for me, so they're doing a physical and they have, you bend over and you're touching your toes because they're looking at your spine. And the doctor says scoliosis about me. And I remember I shot up and I went, what? He goes, well, you have a slight curvature of your spine. You have a slight case of scoliosis. And I'm like, that's not going to keep me out, is it? And he's like, oh, no, no, you're good. And I said, all right, cool. Right. So that was the first part. So the second part that I'll never forget, then this is a two part here on this one. So they take you in and they ask you a bunch of questions like, when was the last time that you smoked or did drugs? If when was the last time you smoked pot? Whatever the case, right? They ask you, have you ever been out of the country? So he asked me, he goes, have you ever been to a foreign country? And I went, no. And he goes, you're from Rochester, right? And I said, yes, sir. He said, you've never been to Canada? And I went, oh, yeah, sure, lots of times. And he looks at me and he goes, and I'm like, oh, because we didn't think of it as a foreign country because back then you didn't have to have a passport and all that other nonsense. You just went across the border, you went through customs, and you were into Canada and you had a good time. And then when you were done, you came back, and it was just no big deal. It was just not. It didn't. It's not like it is now, where it's like hyper everything, right? So, so that was that part. So I get out back and we're waiting, and there's a whole bunch of us, and they're taking turns. You go in and you talk to the guy. So I'm sitting next to this kid, and I go, "Did they ask you, when the last time you did drugs?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, what'd you tell him?" He says, "I told him last night." I laughed so hard. So he basically went in and said, "Yeah, I got stoned last night." So we're in Buffalo spending the night because we're leaving the next day. And he's letting them know that, yeah, I got stoned the day before. I just was like, oh my, because, I'm trying to do all the right things and be a good kid and, not screw up and all this stuff. But he's like, yeah, I told him last night. I'm like, oh my God, how funny is that? But yeah, it was. A lot of good times, a lot of good memories. Some things sucked, not gonna lie, but it wasn't horrible. It wasn't horrible. So, but interesting time in my life. Like I said, I really needed to grow up, and it really did help me to grow up at that point in time. My MOS 51 Romeo. That was my MOS. I thought basic was easy. JJ said. Well, I let's put it like I went into basic at 142 pounds, and I know I've said this before as well. I was 142 pounds at my height when I went into basic. When I got done with basic, I was at 149 pounds. I put on 7 pounds of muscle. Uh, and Karen, an MOS is your job, whatever your job is when you're in the service. That's what they call an MOS. So I put on 7 pounds of muscle during basic. Billy the Kid said I was 128 and 140 afterwards. Yeah, there was nothing on me to lose. I mean, I was a string bean. I was a string bean. So yeah, it. But like I said, when you're young and you're healthy, I'm sure it's a lot easier dealing with basic training than when you're older and you've had some issues and all those type of things. Oh, you definitely build muscle mass in basic. Well, we had a guy. I'll never forget. His name was Kasarich. I don't remember what his first name was, but his last name was Kasarich, and he was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay, and he was like 25 when we went into basic training, and he was just a big, huge, strapping guy. I mean, he was a bodybuilder and stuff like that. And I'll tell you two stories with him. So before we knew where our roommates were going to be or where we were going to be, you have to go through the whole process of you go into the reception station, you stand in line, they hit you on both sides with the guns, with the shots, and they hit you with all that. And so I remember, I walk up, they hit me with the guns, and then you take the cotton swab and you hold them like this on your arms, okay? And so I'm walking away, and the drill instructor goes, "Wait a minute, stop." And I stopped. He takes the cotton swab, and I had a line of blood that had run down my arm, and he like swabs it up and puts it back, and he goes, "Okay." And so off I go, right? So I didn't know who Kasarj was at that point because we hadn't gotten to that, where we're going to be and where we're going to be unit and stuff like that. So one of the other guys that's in line with me goes, "Hey," he goes, "look at the big tough guy." And I look over, and here's Kasarich by the window. He's got his head tilted back because he hadn't even gotten his shots yet. Hadn't even gotten his shots yet. But for whatever reason, it freaked him out so bad. Um, you know, yeah, those air shots cut me too. Yeah, well, I just stood there and let him do it, but it just, it did what it did. Um, but so he was so freaked out about it that he like was feeling faint, and so he had to lay he had by the window with his head up. So then the other story with him, so we get in there, and you had the big bay, and then it had a bunch of 8-man rooms. So basically, when you come off the cattle car, so when you are jammed into this cattle car, one drill instructor gets on the cattle car, and I know I'm going to repeat a story about this as well, but I will tell you about this as well. But one drill sergeant gets on the cattle car, so there's like maybe 100 of you on this cattle car. I don't remember exactly, but anybody that's been on one of them, I mean, you're jammed in. You got your rucksack between your legs, and there's guys pressing on both sides of you, right? And you're just sitting there. And so this one drill instructor will get on the cattle car. So once you get to your destination, they're like, get off, get off, get off. And like, you're like running, and they're like, this way, this way, this way. So you run in, and they go, you here, you here, you here. So when we had gone in, I ended up in an 8-man room. So they're like, and you basically go into the room. The drill instructor says, you there, you there. And I luckily got a bottom bunk. I was real happy about that later. I was real happy about having the bottom bunk. So, you throw your stuff in there, and then they get you outside, and you standing in formation, and then it's game on. I mean, it's just like, but anyway, so we're into basic training of ways. And so Kasarich goes up to the one of the drill instructors and says, hey, not didn't say hey, he said, basically asked, do you got a weight room? Is there a weight room that I could hit a weight room? And they're like, oh, what, we're not working you enough? And they dogged him out, right? And then he got done being dogged out, and they said, you still want access to a weight room? He goes, yes, Sergeant. he was just, that's the kind of dude he was. He was in great shape, but he liked working out. So, but yeah, he was really cool. I mean, he was really, really cool, and too funny, too funny. But oh my God, the stories. So I'm going to relate this story for you guys too. So what do we have? 272 in the chat. I knew it was going to be a chill one tonight, guys. I know a lot of people don't give a crap about veterans or anything like that. I don't want to hear stories about it, but I don't care. This is what I decided to do tonight because it's Veterans Day, and I want to kind of honor the veterans and talk about some of my own experiences and stuff like that. So I get to basic training, and I got there 4 days before Thanksgiving, right? So instead of spending just a few days in the reception station, we ended up we ended up there for a week in the reception station. So what they did was they brought us into this auditorium, and we're all sitting in this auditorium. And this is when we're getting ready to go, like the next day or the day after, we were going to be going to our units. Okay, and so um, the building that we were in, it was 3 stories. So you had Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie company. So it was 3 different companies, and I was on the first floor, so I was Alpha. Uh, but no, the whole unit was Alpha. But you had the 3 floors. So we were on the first floor. Yeah, because I'm trying to remember back. But anyway, so um, they get us into this auditorium, and they're like, on your feet. And here come the drill instructors walking down the aisles. They got their Smokey the Bear hats on. Uh, very intimidating. I mean, very, very intimidating. So they're standing on the stage, and the guy that was talking, he goes, these will be your drill instructors. And I will, guys, I'm telling you, if I live to be 100, I will never forget this. So look how black that is, right? Okay, you see how black that is? So there's one drill instructor standing up there that's how black his skin was. And he was probably 6'3", maybe 250, 260 pounds. I mean, he was intimidating, and he looked meaner than mean could be, right? And yeah, they're supposed to look intimidating. Well, he was intimidating without trying to look intimidating. I'm going to tell you right now. So I remember sitting in that chair thinking to myself, going, oh God, I hope I don't get him as a drill instructor. He looks mean. I mean, he just scared me sitting in the chair, right? He just scared me. Um, so when we get on the cattle car, guess who gets on our cattle car? And I'll never forget it. It was Staff Sergeant Amaker. Never forget him because I'll tell you why. So he gets on there, and you know he's like, and he starts in. Any of you people in any of those effed up organizations like the Ku Klux Klan or the Black Panthers or anything like that, and you think you're tough and you think you can take me, here I am. I'm all by myself, and there's however many of you on this cattle cart, right? And I'm sitting there, and I got my rucksack between my legs, and I'm holding on to my rucksack, and I will never ever forget. Never ever forget. I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Terrified, terrified. I mean, I couldn't even begin to tell you the level of fear that I was having at that point in time. Um, it ended up being that Sergeant Amaker was probably one of the coolest drill instructors because he knew when there was a time to be serious. He knew when there was a time to be goofing around, and so he would mix that in there. Now, during the basic training, a lot of that part is very, very serious because they really have to, they're training you. So I will tell you a story about Sergeant Amy, which I'll never forget this one either, because oh my God, the rest of us just laughed so hard. So we're doing hand grenades, right? And so we're sitting there and we're going to be doing hand grenades. So they were showing us that you know when you're going up there, you're going up there one at a time with your instructor. You're doing you pull the pin, you go back, you throw. Well, sometimes people screw up, they drop the hand. It's a real hand grenade, okay? It's a real hand grenade. So they have the pits that if something happens, that the drill instructor will literally sacrifice himself. He would pull you down and lay on top of you if something happened, right? So he's demonstrating. So he gets the one guy out of the group, and he's demonstrating, right? And so if something happens, this is what I would do. And he grabs a guy and he throws him on the ground and he gets on top of him and he's laying on top of him. And so what he did, which the guy on the ground never knew, okay, when Sergeant Amaker went to get up, he made a thrusting motion. Never touched the guy, but made a few thrusting motions, if you know what I mean. And so the guy's face down on the ground, and the rest of us are dying laughing. And kid gets up and he's like, "What?" You know what I mean? He doesn't know why everybody's laughing, but that was the kind of drill instructor he was. I mean, he would bring levity into it. And then once we got done with basic, and we were into AIT, cool as the day is long, just as cool as the day is long. Really, really good instructor. Had a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. Great, great drill instructor. So I will never forget. There's another one I will never forget. I'll tell you that story in just a second as well. But again, this is a day to remember veterans, especially the ones that have given absolutely everything. And I think that it's really, really important that we take that time. And it's not always, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, I always appreciate it when somebody says to me, "Thank you for your service." Um, you know, I do appreciate that, but the thing is, to me, it's like the ones that have made that ultimate sacrifice, they deserve to respect so much more, in my opinion. The the guy that goes into the service whole physically comes out, a mess because of being injured or is killed in combat. Those are the ones that really truly, in my opinion only, really deserve the most praise because they're never going to be the same, or they're never coming home at all, or they're on their way to Arlington. So to me, it's really, really important that we honor them, that we really truly honor them. And I think that that's important. So I just wanted to say that, and and share that with you guys. So I'm gonna tell you this other story about uh he was also a staff sergeant, and his name was Tebow. He was from Louisiana, and I don't remember where A Maker was from. I really don't, but I remember Staff Sergeant Tebow because Mr. Staff Sergeant Tebow hated my guts because I was a Yankee because I was from New York, right? So he hated me. I never did nothing to the guy. He hated me. He dogged me out. I mean, absolutely dogged me out from basic all the way through. Always gave me a hard time, even when we were in AIT. Always gave me a hard time. I'm like, why is this guy such an a hole, right? So we get our orders. We finally get our orders, and we're going to our permanent party assignments, right? And so, I want another story I want to tell you about that when I left Missouri and flew back to New York. So, and I'll tell you that in a second as well. But so I'm thinking, I hope he's here today. I hope he's here because you don't. They're not always going to be. They do a rotation, so you don't know if what sergeants are going to be there. So I'm leaving that day. I got my orders. I know I'm leaving. There's another story I do want to remind me that I will tell you too in a second here. But I have so many that they're all like popping into my head right now. So he was there that day, and I'm thinking, okay, how can I get this guy without getting in trouble, right? Because you have to be very, very careful, right? You have to be very, very careful because they can ruin your day, right? So he's in the office, and the way that you did it is you walked up to the door and you would knock, 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 and you would go, I'll give you an example of the way that I would do it. I would say, Staff Sergeant Tebow, Private Carswell, request permission to speak. And so you did it that way, right? And then he would be sitting at the desk and he would go, speak. And I looked at him and I went, Staff Sergeant Tebow. I said, I would just like to thank you for helping to make me strong, right? Because basically what I was telling him was, you didn't break me. You tried to break me, but you didn't break me. But I didn't say it in so many words, right? He looked at me and I will never, it was the best. He goes, get the F out of here, Carswell. And I was like, yes, Sergeant. And off I went. So I'm like, got you, right? And so I'll never forget that. So another story I got to tell you. So we had this other kid. There was these two kids. One was from Hawaii. His name was Diaz, and the other kid, his name was, oh my God, what was his name? Demkowitz. That's what it was. It was Demkowitz, a big Polish kid, and Demkowitz was an 18-year-old kid. And when we're getting our assignments, he goes, anywhere, I don't care where I go, as long as I don't have to go to Korea. Because if you went to South Korea, your family couldn't come with you. And he had a brand new bride. He's 18 years old. Um, so he gets his orders, and he's a big Polish kid. Okay, just it is relevant to the story. Diaz is a very short Hawaiian kid. All right. So Diaz or Demkowitz gets his orders. He's going to Korea, so he's got to go to South Korea, and so he's crying. He's so upset. He got his papers. He's going to Korea, and Diaz flicks him, blip, on the nose and says, "Stop being a baby." So Demkowitz goes to the drill instructor and says, you know, complains that he tweaked my nose. Blah, blah, blah. The next thing I know, and we all were dying. I mean, everybody was dying. What the drill instructors did to these two guys, they made them hold hands. Now you got to remember, guys, you were in a barracks with a lot of testosterone. A lot of guys, we're in probably the best shape of our lives at that point. We're full of piss and vinegar, if you will. So the drill instructor made these guys hold hands and skip up and down the hallway. Skip up and down this hallway, skip back. Go down that hallway, come back. And they made them do it for a while, right? And so so they're going by and they're holding hands and skipping, and we're just dying. And here's Diaz. Diaz out of the corner of his mouth, he's like, F you, F you. Oh my God. Oh, because we're laughing at him. I mean, you see two grown men holding hands, skipping up and down the hallway. It's pretty amusing. So, but that's how the drill instructor dealt with that situation. But so so we got my orders, and there was three of us flying together. All right. And what a lot of people don't realize is, and even to this day, I still walk in a military manner. You don't lose that. It's like so locked in when you're doing basic training. You always carry yourself in a military manner. It's just the way it is. It's not, and it's not something you're doing consciously. It's something that you do subconsciously. And we're going to do egg count in just a second, guys. But I wanted to tell you this one. So there's three of us, in full dress greens, walking through the airport, and somebody comes walking by this way, and I'll never forget this because literally at the same time, he turned his head, I turned my head, and I'm like looking back, and he's looking back at us. And the person that it was Gary Coleman. So I thought that that was really, really neat. But he was so fascinated by us, these soldiers in uniform at the St. Louis airport, that he had to look back and see us. And I'm like looking back, like, is that Gary Coleman? Yeah. So that was really, really cool. That was a really cool experience too. No, I never went to Korea. Nope. I was stateside the entire time. Always stateside. So, but yep. So, but anyway, yeah. So okay, let's do this, guys. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do an egg count right now, and then we will continue on talking some more, and we will go from there. So, yes or no for thick neck, and you know, how many eggs today? So, I'll give you guys a moment. I just been flapping right. What are we at? 264 in the chat, 167 on a thumbs up. Let's get those thumbs up, guys. If you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel, and I thank you for that. Also, it really does make a big difference with the algorithms, so I thank you for that reason as well. Again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. So, give you a moment, and I will tell you what the answer is. And I'll talk about a little bit about what's happening, here at the homestead too. A little bit. I'll share some of that with you. So, if you had the same exact guess as prepping survival with one egg today and no thick neck, then you are 100% correct. They are just not laying right now. They're just not laying. And again, it's that time of year. We will need to add new chickens in the spring, so congratulations, prepping survival. You've won absolutely nothing except bragging rights until the next live stream. So, but yeah, there's I think the largest egg count in the last or last week was maybe 3. So yeah, they're just not laying at this point in time. That happens. I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah, lazy girls. It's weather too. I talked to Heather earlier today, and she was like, "Man, I got to get a fire going." So now today, I'll tell you. So the forecast for today was 100% chance of rain all day long, right? So I'm like, fantastic. We're doing our get together this weekend, right? So Ronnie got here last night. Then Mark was in here early in the morning. Another new member, Roy, was in here early this morning. And so, we got up today, a little misty, a few periods of where it was raining a little bit heavier, but nothing bad, nothing that you couldn't work in. So we were out cutting wood. I cleaned up that one tree that had fallen over, and then we started pulling trees and out of the woods and doing all that and getting them. And I did end up getting the rest of those bucked up that I needed to get bucked up. And so I did that, and it was like misty and crappy, for a lot of it periods where it stopped, and then other members got in here later, and then this evening it just, like, after 5 o'clock, it just started raining. It was coming down pretty good for a while, and Yeah, so they're calling that the rain's going to stop by like 2 in the morning, I believe, and then tomorrow they're calling for like a 50% chance in the afternoon of some showers. So we'll see what happens. It's what you got to deal with. It's the weather's what it's going to do, and that's just so we may not be working on the pavilion because it's just going to be way too muddy to work on the pavilion. So that might get put off until December. I haven't. Well, we had a couple of snow showers. Pamela in Wonderland said, "I heard there's a thunderstorm in Arizona. Um, it's raining ballots." Oh my God, that's funny. Now, I can't really comment on that because I don't want to be accused of giving out false information. But thank you for the statement and thank you very much for the donation as well. But yeah, we're supposed to be getting much colder. Like today, I mean, it was like 63 degrees today, so it was very comfortable, very comfortable. I think actually I can tell you what the let me tell you what the forecast is looking like because I know the next 2 days is definitely going to be getting colder. So I got something else to tell you guys too, and you'll get a kick out of this. I hope you do anyway. All right, let me look here. All right, so yeah, I mean, overnight it's going to be. I mean, the low overnight's only going to be 53. So tomorrow, we're looking at like afternoon, like a 50% chance of rain. But as the day goes on tomorrow, we start to get colder. It's going to go down into the 30s tomorrow night, and then on Sunday, we're only looking at a high of 38 on Sunday, with a low of 27. So it's going to be a chilly day on Sunday, and then we're back into the 40s after that. But it's definitely the trend is colder at night. So it is definitely that time of year, and that's what's going to happen. So I think what we're going to be working on because we really can't get in there. It's going to be a freaking absolute muddy mess trying to work on the pavilion. So I think we're going to probably we have to talk about it first, in the morning and kind of evaluate. But with the amount of rain, I just don't think that that's going to be something that's going to be doable. So I think what we're going to try to focus on is helping Mark get the rest of his cabin put together. Jason will be here, Sharon. He was coming in from Oklahoma, which is about a 14-hour drive, and I talked to him um, earlier, and he was still about 8 hours away. And that was, let's see, what time is it now? It's 8 o'clock, probably about 4 o'clock. I talked to him, and he was 8 or 9 hours away. And what he said he was going to do, he was going to get about an hour away from here, and he was going to get a hotel room for the night, get up in the morning, and then be here in the morning. So yes, Jason, Angry Prepper, will be here, and so that will be very cool. And but yeah, so we're gonna probably focus on the bunker and also helping Mark get his thing squared away down there. So we got enough people, to be honest with you, where that should not be any kind of issue whatsoever at all. Um, so I gotta talk about this because it drives me crazy sometimes. So the bunker, I've had well, not so many. There's a few, a few people, and I'm not taking it as criticism. Everybody has a different plan. You can do what you want to do. But I was getting these comments, and they were like, well, if you brought a backhoe in there, you could have dug that out already and put your blocks in, and then you could have refilled it. Okay. What happens is when you dig an area out and then you put your blocks in or whatever you're going to do under there, and then cover it back up. That ground is not solid ground like it was before. The root structure is not in place. With what we're doing, and I want you to understand this too, I'm not just building a room. It's not going to be just we're dig down and then we dig out one big room and that's what it's going to be. This is going to be a complex underground, is what I plan on doing underground. So, you know, what we're doing is we're going down, like I said, to the 12-foot level, and then we're going to start digging in. It's going to take more time. I knew that going in. I had no delusions that it was going to be some quick, easy thing and it was going to be wonderful and quick and great and fantastic. I knew, yeah, a Vietnam tunnel system, absolutely. Okay. I go down 12 feet, and then we're going to dig in. And so the way that the hill is, all right, so here's where we started digging. Here's the hill behind that, okay? So it goes up. Number one, I couldn't get a backhoe in there if I wanted to, all right? Right now, JJ, probably about 8.5 feet deep. We will make serious headway on it this weekend with everybody here because we'll have the bodies to be able to take turns getting in there and digging and stuff like that, okay? So hopefully, I would, if we get down a couple more feet with everybody here this weekend, I would be really, really happy about that. I didn't get the chance to get in there as much as I wanted to. As you guys know, I had hurt my knee. My knee had swollen up, and I was waiting for that to get better, which it is now. It's fine. I have no idea what I did to it, but it's fine now. Uh, but anyway, so it would just kind of, there was, you know, it was just, one of those type of situations. But so we're gonna get in there. We're gonna work on that. Once we get to 12 feet, I'm gonna concrete block everything up. It's gonna be very, very supported. It's not going to be an issue. It's not. So yeah, it's well, once you get, like I said, JJ, once you're below the frost line, it's always going to be 58 degrees. Temperature doesn't vary, so it doesn't matter what the temperature is on top. It is definitely cooler in the hole. I'm not not going to tell you it's not. Um, yeah, I'm using the Frederick Nolan. I'm using the wider bit. I'm not using the pointed bit. We're not using that to dig. We're using the wider bit to dig. We've been using that from the very beginning. So, but no, we're down, like I said, about 8.5 feet deep right now. And so old age is what did it. Yeah, well, I don't like to admit to that, but yeah, things do happen. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. And once we get underground, and you know what, and the naysayers can say whatever they want to say, and that's perfectly fine, because my thing is this: watch me, keep watching. You'll see how it goes. I absolutely have a game plan with not disturbing everything on top. All the vegetation is there, all the root system is there. We're going to be deep enough that when we go in, we're not disturbing any of that. So that's all still going to be there, which is better support. Okay, it's better support. The tunnels are going to be really seriously reinforced. I'm not screwing around under there. Literally, what we're going to do, I'm going to go in 2 foot. Once we're down to the 12-foot level, it will be concrete rebar all the way up, concrete block to make sure it's very supported. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay. When we start to dig in, we will dig in 2 feet, 2 feet. And once we dig in 2 feet, we're going to shore it up. Okay. Arch ceilings. It's going to be all shored up with wire mesh, whatever we have to do to make sure we don't have a collapse. How wide and high? It's going to be at least 7 foot tall under there. And the reason that I want to have it at least at that level is because I want to be able to walk in there with no issues. It's going to be wide enough, and I'm not, probably it's not going to be narrow, but it'll be wide enough. Anything I want to get down in there, I'm going to be able to get down in there. So that's the game plan with that. So, but that's the game plan, and it's so somebody had asked me how long is it going to take. It's going to take years, and that's the whole point of it. This is not something that is going to be overnight. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, and you know what? And I'm okay with that. It's not. I'm not. So many people out here, and I'm not saying, and I'm not calling out anybody in particular, but so many people want instant gratification all the time. Instant. It's got to be instant. It's got to be now. I got to have that satisfaction now. That ain't life, folks. Things take time, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And as we can get work done, we'll get work done. We're going to need air shafts. We're going to need to do a lot of things that we need to do to make sure that it's safe, that we have fresh air, all that type of stuff. How far into the hill will you go? Mountain Man, that has not yet been determined. I don't know completely. Um, I have some ideas of what I want to do as far as a first level, and there may be sub levels. So it's not going to be just in and maybe a couple of rooms. It's we go in, we build a few rooms, and then we may go back down again. So we'll have to see. I don't know exactly. Let's put it like this: the first two rooms that I make down under there, okay, just so you guys know, just and I will show you guys this, okay? I will show you guys this. The first two rooms, one will be a storage room only. So all the stuff that is to heat, cold, all that type of stuff, that will all be underground. So all food that we have, long-term food, canned goods, whatever the heck we may have as far as food goes, will be stored in that first room. The second room that we make is going to be an underground freezer with no electricity. So tornadoes technically do not do very well over hilly terrain. They like flat ground. Huh, well, that's good. So that definitely is very hilly here. There's no doubt about that. But again, once you're underground like that, it's a lot of reasons why we're going as deep as we are. A lot that has to do with it. But would you put supplies close to the entrance? No, no. And it's going to be, first of all, people are not going to even know it's there, and that's the other part of it because you can disguise it. If I just dig into a hill and you see this great big depression, or you just dig out an area and then you concrete whatever and then you cover it all back over, people are going to know you put something there. But if you can walk around and have no idea where something is, that's better in my opinion. It's just better, and there will be more than one way out. That I will say as well, because I think that's important. I think that's really important. So, it's going to be a work in progress, and so it's just yeah. Put her bone in the trench, she'll dig it out overnight. Yeah, right. All right, we're gonna do. Hold on, let me get this over here. It's drier now. Well, somewhat. Let's see. All right, here we go. We're gonna do some shout outs. Yeah, you guys, if you ever watch, go. What I want you to look at, okay? Go watch the old Vietnam movies and how the Viet Cong had their tunnel system. That's kind of like what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Okay. All right. So shout out time. First of all, we have Icky Can up in Canada. Really good guy. I absolutely would ask you to please support him. And JJ just threw his link up there. You have Angry Prepper Jason from New York City. And again, as you guys know, Jason will be here tomorrow. Another good dude, real solid dude. You have Alaska Prepper with Rudy. There is Alaska Granny. You have Sean James with the Sean James channel and My Self Reliance, two different channels, same guy. A lot of great information on his channel. Building from scratch and just doing what he's doing. It's absolutely amazing to watch. You have North Shore Preparedness, also up in Canada. There is Corporal's Corner, Bjorn Hansen. You have 80K Man up in the Adirondacks. There is Bizarrizza Jizza, who does the Carrington Chronicles from Rochester area, and another good dude. I don't know how much he's been posting. I don't think he's been posting a lot lately. He'll go through streaks where he won't post for long periods of time, and then he'll be back. You have Marfugal News out on the West Coast with Adam and Dax. Another couple of really, really good channels or channel. You have Magic Prepper in North Dakota. There is Wrangle Star with Cody, another really good channel, a lot of good information with his channel as well. You have Red Poppy Ranch. There's Survival Lily, Kyle's Cabin up in Minnesota. Kyle and Sierra doing their thing up there, nice young couple. You have Bush Radical and Girl in the Woods, husband and wife team, two different channels. So definitely check them out as well. We're very smart people, a lot of good information on their channels. You have Green Greg's, there's Southern Prepper 1, you have Gray Man Prepping, St. Bernard Acres with Joe. There is Doug and Stacy, another fantastic channel with a lot of great information on their channel as well. The Nomadic Movement, which is down in Panama. Nice young couple down there. They got a little girl, and they got a nice group of people working with them down there. You have the Green Dream Project, which is out in Arizona. Okay, another really good group of people out there and doing a lot of really cool things. You have Camping with Steve Wallace. Really like what he's doing, and so definitely show him some support. You have Bush Doctor Survival. There is Monkey Works. There is the Needy Homesteader. Boss of the Swamp. I've been following Boss of the Swamp for a very, very long time. You have Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. You want to see what's really going on with a lot of stuff? Go see Diamond. Go watch him with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Really good information. Very, very smart man. You have Patera with the Appalachian Homestead. There is City Prepper, Illumina Acres, Suspicious Observer. A lot of great information on his channel as well, guys. So definitely check him out. Bear Independent, The Uneducated Economist. You have Bushcraft Bear in the Canary Islands of La Palma. You have Mary Greeley News giving you all the updates with Yellowstone and everything else that's going on, earthquake related and stuff like that. So definitely check her out. There's Adapt 2030. There is Malachi's Corner. You have Ice Age Farmer. Ryan Hall, y'all, for the weather. Definitely check him out. Awesome. Ryan Hall is amazing. Really good dude as well. You have Russell Brand. I like Russell Brand. I think he makes people think, which I think is important. I think we need to have somebody that makes us look at things and makes you really think, that's interesting. And the way he does it, he gets away with a lot of stuff because of the way he does things. You have Deep South Homestead. There is The Outsider, The Fit Farmer. You have Prep Rebel, Simple Life Reclaimed, Townsend's, The Prepared Mind out in California, Pinball Preparedness, which is in Tennessee, East Tennessee Preparedness, The Economic Ninja, and Little House Off Gritty. So definitely check those out. There's a lot of other obviously awesome channels out there that people are putting up in the chat, and that's fine as well. A lot of good information out there. Also, Heather just threw up Heather's Etsy account for her website. She does jewelry. She also does, crocheting. So she enjoys doing that as well. So definitely check out that as well. And but there's a lot of good information out there. You know, I always mention Heather Okie Forge. I always mention Heather though. But so a lot of good information, a lot of good channels. Definitely check them out, and tell them Prepper Nurse One sent you over, and and just kind of go from there. So anyway, we should look at other people's perspective of how they look at things. Everybody's got a different take on things, and it doesn't make somebody right or somebody else wrong. It is what it is. So it's weird. Now, look, you'll see if you look at here, you see, I think it's right there. That indentation, that scar between my eyes right there. You want to hear a fun story? So we had when I was a kid, we lived down the road. They had a junkyard, and so I would hang out with their sons. I was like 8, 9 years old, and their sons were like 4 years older than me. And so, we'd hang out, we'd be out playing, and we were running around the shop. They had a big shop, big metal shop, where they, worked on cars and did all that type of stuff. And I was running around the building, and I tripped, and I fell face first into a pile of glass. So I stood up, and I had that where that scar is right there. I had a piece of glass stuck there. So I like grabbed that piece of glass and I pulled it out, and of course, then the blood went everywhere. And so the one of the boys grabbed me. We're gonna go in the house, and he's like, I'm in Boy Scouts. I know what we got to do. We got to put pressure on it. And so he put the pressure on her, and then he called my mom, and but yeah, that's what happened. But the point that I'm going to make is that is something that I think is actually important with kids, is giving them structure, giving them uh, you know an opportunity to learn something. If that kid hadn't been in Boy Scouts, he wouldn't have known, what to do. And so there's a lot of good information that kids can pick up in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. Uh, you know, a sense of responsibility, a sense of community, which I think is important. And I think a lot of people have gotten away from that now. But I just something that I wanted to share with you because I thought that was important because he knew instantly what I mean. I didn't know what to do. I was a little kid, you know what I mean? And so But yeah, so I get to carry that scar, and I'm seeing it because I'm looking at myself. I can see myself in the screen. So yeah, so that's it just reminded me, seeing that scar reminded me of that. But scars, you know what scars mean, folks? Scars means you've lived and you're still alive. So don't ever be ashamed of your scars. It just means we've gone through something. Yeah, adds character, right? I'm just glad it wasn't over a little more that way, or otherwise you'd have been calling me the pirate, the one-eyed pirate. So, but uh, JJ says pedophiles give the Boy Scouts a bad name. They've weeded out a lot of that crap. They really did. I mean, if that was the case, you wouldn't send any of your kids to be altar boys in Catholic churches ever anymore, right? And hopefully they've taken care of that problem as well. I hope, you know. So yeah, unfortunately, predators are going to go where the children are. That's what they do. So, but I don't want to make this talk tonight about that because they're pieces of garbage, and I don't want to talk about those type of folks. But I wanted, like I said, I wanted this to be a chat about honoring veterans and all those type of stuff. So, um, so I'll tell you some more, so a couple more things about when I was in. Uh, so I got my orders, and I got to go home. How the bunker will work as a freezer. What we're gonna do with that, I'll tell you about that, Troy. You dig out an area that's going to be your room for your freezer. Okay, you have a first door here. You have a dead area in between. So you come into the first door, you close that door, you open the second door, that will walk you into the freezer area. So you're never letting that cold air escape. Okay. What you do is you insulate the crap out of it. It's going to be concrete blocked and all that to begin with anyway. But then what you do is you take that foam board insulation, uh, like 2 inch thick, and you make a couple of layers in there of that. Then the next thing what you do is, so once, like again, once you're underground, it's always 58 degrees, right? Always 58 degrees. So what you do next is you take 5 gallon buckets with salt water and you freeze them. All right. You get them down into that room in what and literally a minimum, I'm thinking, and I'm speculating here, I'm not sure how many, it may take more, but I am guessing it's going to be a minimum of 200 buckets. That's my guess. Frozen solid 5 gallon buckets of salt water. And the reason you do salt water freezes at a lower temperature. Okay. You get them in there, that will bring that temperature of that room from 58 degrees down to 32 degrees. And now you have a freezer that is going to work year round and keep that temperature there. Now, will those buckets eventually start to thaw out? Yes, they will. So you're going to have to do some kind of a rotation. Obviously, in the wintertime, it's easy. You just pick a bunch of them out in the wintertime, you put them out there. But what are you going to do in the summertime, right? They start not being as cold in there. You're obviously going to keep a thermometer in there to keep a regulated of what the temperature is. So what you have to do is you're probably going to have to get some kind of a freezer of some sort that you can run off your solar system, and you take a few buckets out at a time, 6 buckets, whatever the case may be. You put them in there, freeze them for 12 hours so that they're ice blocks again, and then you put them back down there, and you can just continuously rotate doing that. I think that you want to basically try to go in there as little as possible. So once we get something like that underground, what I would like to do as a group, my group here, we may go and buy a cow and have all that meat down in there. We may start raising pigs in the spring. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that may be an option that we do. And we will have that and then take, and butcher the pigs and have them in the freezer. So that way we will always have meat. You're not worried. It's like an ice house. Exactly. Yep. It's absolutely like what the Amish do with an ice house. But the only difference is like they'll dig into a hill and they cover everything over. It's the same premise, but we're going to be doing it quite a bit underground. So Yes, 32 is going to be fine for keeping food frozen. It's not going to be anything bad with that at all. And so then again, you have a freezer now with no electricity, because I will tell you this, and this I truly, truly, truly believe, when SHTF hits the fan and all those folks out there, well, I got 3 freezers full of food, we're ready for SHTF, and the power goes out and they've got a generator, which is great. How much gas do you have? When that gas runs out, you are SOL. Okay. So my thought process is, if I can have a freezer where I have no reliance on electricity, that's going to be better in the long run. So that is the game plan. Yeah, they use sawdust, yes, to insulate the walls. Yep, yep, and it would all stay frozen through August. Yep, exactly. So, but yes, that's somebody's asking what SOL is. Yeah, JJ, I don't think that that's the one. But you're welcome, Troy. No problem, man. But that's the thought process with that, and then I don't. And again, another way not to be reliant on the system. So, yep, there you go. But all right, let's do this, guys. We are Legion because we are many. We are all over the. Hey, Hunter guy, check out the boonies. It's an off-grid people who live above ground, below the grid, outside the grid, and beyond the grid. It's really interesting. After 3 episodes, thank me later. Okay, I will check it out. Out of the boonies. Okay, I will definitely check that out. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the donation as well. All right, so where is everybody from? We have Rhonda, Dayton, Ohio, Franklin County, Ohio. Um, it's on Hulu. Okay. Nowhere, Oklahoma, with Okie Forge. Waterloo, New York. Central Kentucky. Tucson, Arizona. Melbourne, Australia, with Philip in the house. Good day, Philip. Greenlee County, Arizona. Athens, Texas. We have Connecticut in the house. Kansas. BC, Canada. Central Iowa. Missouri in the Ozarks. Erin, Tennessee. Littleton, New Hampshire. We have North Carolina. Bumstead, Florida. Indiana. Cape Cod, Massachusetts. East Central Illinois, Oregon in the house, Homer, Michigan, Charlotte County, Florida, Youngstown, Ohio, Fort Worth, Texas, Eastern Ohio, Central Pennsylvania is in the house, Apollo, Pennsylvania, Stardust, Washington. So again, we're literally all over the place. We're all over the world. We're all over the country. We're a huge, huge network of people. Clyde is in the house from Inverness, Florida. How you doing, Clyde? Say hi to the wife for me, buddy. Selva, Kentucky is in the house. We have Nebraska, Randolph County, West Virginia with Kathy. So, Bay County, Michigan, Union City, Pennsylvania with Richard. So, yeah, I mean, literally, guys, we're all over the place. And we're a huge network of people. I don't think people realize how much power that we really truly have, but we really truly do. We have Bay County, Michigan, Union City, Pennsylvania, Northwest Arkansas. So, but yeah, guys, we're all over the place, and we can definitely. The egg count was one. Ma Bear 1900 was one egg with no thick neck today. But we're the ones that can make a difference. We can help people, try to educate people now, and in a post event, we will help educate people so they stay alive. And I think that's important that we try to do so. So that's just my take. You can have any kind of thought process you want on that, but I think having a game plan is really, really important. So, anyway, guys, I want to thank my moderators who do an absolutely fantastic job keeping the chat clean. I thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that moderate for me. Very much appreciated. So, thank you. Thank you guys all for being here as well. I do appreciate the support. Again, remember Veterans Day. Let's remember the veterans out there, especially the ones that gave everything. I think they need to be remembered probably more than anybody else, because a lot of them are forgotten. But and I also am going to say this too. I think we need to take care of our veterans that are dealing with issues. I think they need to be a priority, not immigrants flooding the southern border that have no right to be here. I think we should be taking care of the people that have sacrificed. That's my opinion. That's what I feel. That's just what I'm saying. Uh, So, also, guys, remember, we are all in this together. We are one race called the human race. As soon as we can figure that out, we will be in much, much better shape. Also, remember to hug and kiss the ones that you love. Tell them every single day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what's going to happen in life. So it's really, really important that we tell the people that we care about every day how we feel. Last but not least, STD, step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you are trying to accomplish, whatever you are trying to do, you can do it. The only one that's going to stop you from reaching your goals is you. That's it, nobody else. So stay positive, stay away from the negativity, and you're going to be just fine. Keep taking care of what you can take care of, control what you can control, prep the best that you possibly can, and when the time comes, have a game plan. Really, have some kind of a game plan. All right. I will see you all later. I hope everybody has a great day. Prepper Nurse One out for now.